and give it another test. I think we're ready to go fishing. Hey fishing friends, welcome back to eFishin. I'm Rodney. We're down here in the office today, and we had a snowstorm a couple days ago, and there's snow and ice and everything's still on the road. We can't get the boat out to go fishing, and it's kind of chilly too, so we're not going to do that. But since we got some time, we can't fish. I've got a reel here, and I've been doing a couple of these, so I thought I'd do a little video on this. This is a Lube Tournament Light Speed Spool. What is this thing? It's a 6-4-1. I use this to throw square bills with, and it's kind of gunked up and around the, well, it's kind of gunked. It needs a good cleaning. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing and we are going to completely disassemble it. We're going to lube it up, clean it up, and this is what I do. So if y'all like it, hang around. It's going to take a minute to do this, so let's get to it. All right, to get started with this, there's a couple of tools you're going to need. So here we go. The first thing we've got here is, this is a pin removal tool, and we'll get to what you use that for. The next thing here is a little 10mm wrench. This one's 4 reels. It's got a couple of different sizes on it, but most of the Lube reels have a 10mm nut on them that you're going to need to remove. This little thing right here is a bearing testing tool. We're going to make sure our bearings are good. A couple of different screwdrivers, Phillips, flathead, a couple of those. Got screws in there you're going to need to get out. Another little handy thing is a little pick. Sometimes you need one of these. An old toothbrush to clean things up with. And then I don't know if you'll need it or not, but it's always good to have a pair of needle nose pliers here handy to get things, put things in or take things out. Sometimes you need a pair of needle nose pliers. Not always, but sometimes. And then since we're cleaning things up, have a couple of paper towels handy, and maybe even a couple of Q-tips to get into some places that you can't get into with the paper towel. All right, now for lubricants, there's a couple of cleaners and a couple of lubes, greases, and oils that you're going to need. So just the first thing I kind of like is this Real Magic. It's good to kind of spray on around on the frame and everything to clean it up. That's a good one to have. Next grease, you need some kind of real grease. I've been using this pin grease. It seems to work pretty well. Have no complaints with it. So when you get your bearings and everything cleaned up, you're going to need to re-lube them, and this Lube's Super Duty oil seems to do pretty good. Lube's and Lucas made this stuff, so it's pretty decent. If your reel has some centrifugal brakes in it, Lube's makes this centrifugal brake cleaner. Kind of helps out a little bit. And then the last cleaner you're going to need is this, what is this stuff called? It's called Lightning Lube Clean Touch, and it's by Boca Bearings, and this does a real good job of getting some of the grime and stuff out of your bearings. So we're going to use a little bit of this when we're cleaning up the bearings. All right, here it is. Let's get this thing took apart. All right, so we're going to start by removing this little nut retainer here on the handle. And you can see there's a lot of little parts with this, so just be careful with them. And I like to lay them up here in order so that I can know how to put the thing back together. I don't know if you can see all the way up there, but everything's going to be laid out right there. So the next thing we got is our 10mm wrench here to take this nut off. I'll set that there. Take the handle off. And a lot of times the little washer here is going to be stuck to that, so just don't lose that little washer. We're going to lay that up here. The next piece is our star drag. It just unscrews. Alright, we'll lay that up there. Now we got some drag washers and this little washer here that makes a click on the drag. So we're just going to pull them off. And when I pull them off, I'm going to pull them off and then I'm just going to set them straight down. So all I have to do is just pick them up to stick them back on. Right. A lot of times there's another little washer right here, but I don't think, yep, there it is. You can see it right there. We'll take that off and lay that right there. Then here's our anti-reverse bushing. We'll take that off. Now I also like to go ahead and take the spool tension knob off, and we're going to lay that there. And then I think we're ready to, well, let's just take the back plate off here. And all you do is you pull this little thing out right here. And some of these right here, there's a little screw, so you just need a screwdriver to undo that. That just lifts off and pulls out. And we'll set that over here. And then we're going to pull the spool out and set it aside. Now we can take our screwdriver, and there's 3 screws right here, and there's one right here. Some of your Lube's models, there might be a screw right in here that you got to take out too. So let's just start by taking this one out. And another thing, on some of your Lube's, this screw that's right here, there's a little plate right here, so you want to make sure you take that plate out too. We'll take that off. We'll set that up here. So now we're going to take these 3 screws out. Now, when you take these screws out, pay attention to them, and sometimes one of those screws will be a little shorter or a little longer than the other one. So what I like to do is I'll just like to lay them out into a grid so that I know which one goes where. We'll pull that one out, lay that there. And then undo this one. So we can pull these out. Like so. And so here's the kind of the grid that I like to lay them out in. And you notice that this screw is a little shorter than these 2 others. So lay them out there so you know where they go. And then we're just going to pull this piece off right here. So that's our side plate, and we're just going to set it aside. Now, here we've got 2 springs. These 2 springs right here, they might be 2 of the easiest things to get lost, because sometimes they'll just come flying out. So I was a little, just be careful when you're taking them out and lay them aside so that you don't lose them. Alright, the next thing we got here, so we got this main gear here, and we're just going to pick it up on one piece. And then we'll just take our pick here, and we're just going to pick all these pieces apart. All these drag washers. Like that. And then if you flip this thing over on the back, there's a couple back here too. Like that. So just leave those laying like that so that you can put all that back together in the right order. And then really the last piece here is this little pinion gear right here. And when you pick this piece out here, notice which way's up. This little pinion gear, if you can see it there, it's got some grooves in it, and that's where your spool goes into. And then this piece has a little metal piece on the top of it and not the bottom, so that thing goes like that. So we're just going to set it aside so that we have it ready to go. And there basically is the disassembly of your reel. Alright, one more thing we got to do is we got to take this worm gear out here. So let's do that. So to start with that, we need to remove this guard right here. So there's 2 screws on this, and some of your lubes may just have 1, but this one has 2. They're pretty easy. They're really small though, so make sure you set them suckers up there, don't lose them. There's that. And once you take those 4 screws off, all you really got to do is just take this thing and pull it off like that and set it aside. So with our worm gear here, we're going to take a flat bladed screwdriver. We're going to take this cover off here. Like that. And then when you take this thing off, set that over here, make sure you get this little washer right here. That's another pretty easy one to lose. You can see how tiny that thing is. And what I do is I just like to set it back down in that cap there and hope I don't lose that thing. And then we got this little piece here. It'll fall out. We'll just set that right there. Like that. Now, to get this worm gear out, there is a little C-clip right here. And I like to use just a little screwdriver to do this, flat bladed screwdriver. And this is one of those pieces that can go flying across the room. So what I like to do is I like to hold my thumb over it and then just kind of pry that thing out and hope it falls out like that right there. And then once you take that off, there's another little washer here. So we get that thing to come off. And sometimes you need to go ahead and just, no, it ain't coming out till we get all this off. There it is, and right there it is. So once that comes off, this piece right here will probably fall off too. That was sitting right here. Set that there, and then your worm gear assembly comes out as well. Now our last little piece here is this guide rod, and just take something and push it out there. And sometimes these are a little tricky to come on out, and that's where your needle nose pliers come in handy. You just grab that thing and pull it on out, and then your line guide comes out, and then you just pull this thing out too, like that right there. Now we have a completely disassembled reel. I mean, you could go ahead and take these parts off too, but I don't think you need to do that. You can get to those, clean them out. So now we're ready to go cleaning and lube this thing up. So let's go to it. All right, now that we've got everything disassembled, the first thing I like to get cleaning is the bearings, because we're going to put some of that cleaner on it from Boca bearings. So really you've got 3 bearings. You've got one on each side of the spool, on the left side and the right side, and then you got one here on the spool. These 2 here are fairly easy. Just take your pick, and there's a little retaining clip down in here. Here's another one of these things that can go flying out, so kind of hold your hand or finger over it so it doesn't go anywhere. And you just reach in there with your pick and just go around it. And pull that thing out. Like that right there. And then this bearing should come out right there. So this is completely disassembled. We're going to set this aside. So there's one bearing. And then here on the right side plate, there's another retaining clip right here. Right there like that. There's the other one. So we're going to set it aside. And then we're going to pull that bearing out right there like that. And these 2 bearings right here are the exact same size, so you can switch them, put them back in however you want to. Now, the bearing on the spool here, there's a little pin right here that you got to take out. And then if you look at this thing, you can see one side is smaller than the other. And that's where these pin removal pliers come in handy, and these are from Boca Bearing. So I had to go get my eyes to be able to see this thing, so here we go. But this just goes in here on that pin, and you just push that pin up kind of like that right there, and then you can get your needle nose pliers and come in here and pull that little pin out. Now don't lose that. And then this bearing, it comes off. So there's your 3 main bearings right here. 2 on the ends and 1 on your spool there. And then this little pin right here, we're just going to take it and we're going to just stick it back in there like that so we don't lose that thing, and set all that aside. So now what I like to do is I like to take my bearings and just put them down in a little glass container like this. And I get my bearing cleaner, this Clean Touch from Boca Bearings. And maybe the first thing you really should do is take them and just kind of wipe them off a little bit to get any excess grease or oil or anything off of them. Some of them look kind of dirty. But before we use this right here, I do like to take my little bearing tool here and stick my bearings on them and just spin them. And you can see that one's not spinning hardly at all. That one's not spinning very well. That one might spin the best out of all of them. But what we're going to do is we're going to clean them, and then we'll check them after we clean them and then see what happens. We might need to replace them. But we're just going to take our stuff here, and then it's got a little dropper. I'm just going to put a drop or 2 on each one of them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go eat lunch. We're going to let these things set, and we'll be back after lunch, let these things set and let that kind of work the grime and stuff out of them. So we'll be back here in a little bit. We're back from lunch. Well, so let's see what our bearings look like. So we're just going to take these things and put them on this little bearing tester and spin them. That one seems to be all right. That one seems to be all right. Let's see what our roller bearing does here. Yep, that one's not spinning at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace it. So I've just gone to Amazon and bought some bearings. They're the same size. This right here is the 2 bearings that go on the sides, and then this one right here is the one that goes on the spool. So we're just going to replace all of them with this. Those 2 were probably okay, but we're just going to put new ones in it and be done with it. We got our new bearings out. We're just going to put them back down in our little dish here, and we're going to get our cleaner here, and we're just going to put a little bit of it on them and let these set for a little while. Just to make sure that they're good to go. So we're just going to set them apart side there and get on to the next part here. So I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on this worm gear here. Now it's got a little pin right here that you can push out and set that thing aside, and then this little gear comes off, and then you can push this worm gear out. Now there's a bearing on this side and there's a bearing right here too, so take those out right there. See if we can't get that thing to come out of there. There it goes. Alright, so these 2 bearings here, we're just going to do what we've been doing. We're going to stick them down in here, and we're going to get our cleaner, and we're going to put a drop on them too, because these right here are probably pretty dirty. There we go. And it doesn't take a whole lot of this, it just takes a little bit, so use it kind of sparingly. And we'll just set them aside and continue cleaning. Alright, so we got this worm gear here. We're just going to take a paper towel here and just start cleaning on stuff. You can see how dirty that is coming off of that. And we might take our toothbrush here a little bit and just get all the crud out of it. Kind of like so. We'll just set that there. And then this thing, we're just going to take our pick and we're just going to scrape it around in here, and you can see all the crap that's coming out of that thing. You can see that. And we're just going to keep scraping around on it. You can see it's still coming out of there. And once we kind of get all the main gunk out of it, we're going to get our Real Magic and just kind of spray up in that thing a little bit. And then we're just going to take a Q-tip and just rub around in here. And you can see that Q-tip, how nasty it is. And we're just going to keep doing it until we think it's clean. And it's looking better. And we just take a paper towel and put in there and clean this sucker out. There we go. And there we go. I think we got it clean. Clean all this, just make sure it's all good and clean. Alright, here we go. Now, got our two bearings there. Just going to take a paper towel and kind of wipe them off here a little bit. Kind of like so. We'll put them on a little bearing tester here and see. They're not great, but I don't have replacements for those. But they seem like they're not doing too bad. Yep, I think those will be alright. So on those bearings, we're just going to take our Super Duty oil here. Just put one drop on each one of those. And then let's see here. Make sure we got all the crud off of that thing. So then one side here is going to have a bearing go on it. In there, like that right there. And then the other side. Push that thing down in there like that right there. And ready to put our little gear back on here. And then pick this little pin up. And hold on, I gotta get my eyes. Getting old stinks. You can't see anything. That little pin's gonna go in there like so. And now our worm gear is ready to be reinstalled. But we're not ready to do that yet. So we're going to set that aside. We're going to pick up this piece right here. And you can see that is pretty cruddy. So we're going to take our Real Magic. Spray on that thing. Take our pick and just get all this goop off of here. And you can see all that right there. That's what's coming off of that the line guide. Got all kinds of it in there. Then I'll just take a toothbrush and scrub this thing down after you get all the big pieces off. And you just keep working at it until you get it done. get it clean. Sometimes it's real quick and sometimes it takes a minute. And I think we got that thing clean. So we're going to set it back over here. I'll pick this little guide rod up for that and just wipe it off. Make sure it don't have any crud on it. And then we got this little piece right here. It's got these little Y ears on it that runs your worm gear across there. We'll brush it off. Get it clean. And this little white bushing, we're going to wipe it off here. And I think that's pretty good to go. And then ever so often, just wipe your mat off here and get all the goop off of it so you're not contaminating any of your other parts. The next piece we're going to work on is our side plate here. We're just going to take some of this Real Magic and spray on there. Just wipe it down. And you can see all the crud that's coming out of this thing. And we might just take a Q-tip and run around in here and get all the crap out of it. Kind of like so. And I think we got that clean. So what we're going to do, we'll grab one of our bearings here and take it. We're going to put it on our tester thing here. So that's spinning pretty good. We're going to take our real oil. We're just going to put a drop in there. And we're going to just spin that and work that oil down into that bearing. And we're good to put it in. So we're just going to take this, we're going to drop it back down in there, and then we're going to take our little wire retainer here, lay it down in there, and this is where your pick really comes in handy, is getting these things back in. And remember to keep your finger over the top of them because they will go flying on you. So if you get one side in, then you can just take your pick and push that thing down in there and just keep your finger on it till it goes all the way down in there. Like that right there. And this piece right here is finished. So we're going to set it aside. So the next piece we're going to do is we're going to take our spool and put it back together. So we're going to take that little pin out and lay it right there. And we're just going to take a I don't like to spray too much up in the brakes there. I just like to, and they're not too bad. This spool, I think, is ready to go. So let's get our spool bearing here. We'll take it, and then we're just going to wipe it off here. So we got our bearing. We'll put it on our tester here. It's spinning all right. Take our Super Duty oil. Put a drop on there. Spin that down in there. Now for some reason this one ain't spinning as good as those outer ones was, but it's spinning a lot better than the one we took out of there. And it could just be that that's the way these bearings are. It sounds a little dry, so we're going to put another drop of oil in it. And these bearings could have been sent dry, and those others had some lube in them, so. But it's spinning better. So I think we're ready to put it in. We're just going to take it and drop it down on there. And then we're just going to take our little pin here. And if you can see this thing, this side has a smaller diameter than this side. So this end goes in first. We'll try to put that thing in there. We got it started. So this is where your pin pliers come into handy. They've got these grooves here that you can set your pin in, like this right here, and push that thing in there and set it. So your spool pin is now set. It's ready to go. We're going to set this aside. So next thing we got here is our right side plate. So we're going to put our bearing back into that. Well, first we're going to clean it. So you can see there's some gunk down in there. You can see that stuff coming out of there. Alright, we had to go dump a memory card, so, you know, it happens. But anyways, back to this thing. So, one thing about these things is this one-way roller bearing right here. I don't do anything to it. I have taken them things out, cleaned them out, and then re-greased them, and then they don't work. So this thing, if you need to do something to it, replace it, get another one and put in it, but don't lube it up because you might have problems. And it really only seemed like that happened when it was cold. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're just going to take some of this Real Magic and spray it on it. And just take a paper towel here and wipe everything off really good. And just clean it up good. Kind of like so. And then I think we're ready to put our bearing back in here. So we'll get our bearing. We'll put it on our little tool here. That one seems to spin pretty good. Put a drop of oil in there. Spin that around, work it down in there. And I think we're done with our bearing, so we'll just drop that thing back in there. We'll get our little wire retainer clip here. And again, be careful with these things because they go everywhere. Just kind of hold that thing in there and take your pick. And put that thing in there. And then our side plate here is ready to go. So we got our spool, our left and our right side plates. Our next thing to work on is our main body. So we've got our side plate here, and you can see it's got all kinds of gunk in it. We're just going to take our little pick here and just pull all that junk out of there. At least the big pieces. See how much of this crap we got coming off here. Quite a bit. here on this side. Look at that junk air coming out of there. Take this thing here and just kind of scrape all this, as much of this junk off as we can. You can see that junk there coming out. Underneath the handle and whatnot, or push bar. So once we get all that, we're just going to take our Real Magic here and kind of spray it around on the frame. Wipe this stuff out here. Get it off the mat. And then we're just going to take a paper towel and just wipe it down. Hopefully we're going to get a lot of that off. Get another Q-tip here and might actually just spray the end of that down with a little Real Magic. We're just going to wipe it down for however long it takes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the video right here. I'm going to work on this thing because this generally does take a little bit of time. So we'll be back when we get this thing cleaned up. Okay, I think we got it all cleaned up. It looks a lot better than it did. You don't have a bunch of gunk in it. There might be a little bit of dirt still down in it, but there's not a lot. So I think we're ready to start putting everything back together. So I think what we'll start with here is we will start with putting the worm gear back in, which is this piece, this, that little C-clip, and that. So we're going to put all this stuff back together. Alright, so we got all of our worm gear here in pieces. So we've disassembled our worm gear here because we need to put some grease on it. So we're going to take our pin grease here and open it up. And to put grease on, I like to just get a little art brush here and just dip it in the grease there. We'll take the bearing off and just paint that grease into those worm gears. Now, we're not going to leave all that on there, because if you leave too much grease on there, it's going to collect a lot of dirt and stuff. So we're just going to paint it down, and we wanted to get it down inside the gear parts there. Alright. And then we're just going to take a paper towel and just wipe the outside of it. We don't want to get the inside, well, the down in grease. We just want to get some of that off that outside there. Okay. So let's see here. We're going to take one of our little bearings here and we're going to set it on there. And then this is going to go, uh-oh, piece of fuzz or something in there. That's one thing you want to do is, like, you don't want to make sure if there's any fuzz or anything on any of your parts. You want to make sure you get that out. So we're just going to stick this back in here. Kind of like so. And then we're going to take our other bearing. stick it down in there. Alright, and then we got our little worm gear. It's going to go on there. And then we got our little pin here. Got it. And then we're just going to try to stick it in that little hole there. And then we can line it up on some of those grooves. And now we've got our worm gear. It's back together. Alright. So now we can take that, and it goes in this little hole right here, because this is where your handle is, and so when this spins, it makes your line roller gear here turn too. So we're going to stick that in there, and then we've got to put our line guide on. And so you want to make sure that this hole is facing out like this. Stick that back in there, and then line all of this up so that all fits in there real nice and snug like that. And you'll know if you got it in there. If it's not wiggling around, you've got it in there in the right spot. So now we've got to take, not that, we've got to take these pieces right here and put them back on. So we don't want to lose that. Take our little plastic bushing here, and it fits. Kind of like that right there. You see how it snapped down in there. So you still got this little space right here for your C-clip to go on. So you're going to take your little washer. This is where this pick comes in too sometimes. Just getting that on there like that. And then we're going to take our little flat screwdriver to put this C-clip on. And if somebody's got a better way of doing that, please let me know, because these things here are kind of a pain in the hind end. And you got to be careful too, because that little sucker will go flying across the room, and then you can spend the next hour or two looking for it. So we got it kind of lined up on there like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb over the top of it so it doesn't go flying, and then we'll use this screwdriver to push this on there, hopefully. There it goes, right like that. Okay. So now we still got, what have we done here? There we go. Still got our little guide rod here. And if you'll notice, there's two ends. There's kind of a indentation here, and then it's kind of got a little nipple on the end of it. So that little nipple goes in first. Line that up in there. Hopefully. There we go. We're just going to push that in. And we'll just take our little flat screwdriver here and push that all the way in. And make sure that gets in that hole right there. Like that right there. Now our rod can go back and forth on that. So we will take our little paintbrush here and just put just a little bit of grease on that. And then just smear that around with our finger on both sides. Because you don't want too much on that. You just want a little lubrication on it. All right. Now, the next thing we got to do is we got to get this piece right here. And remember, we still got a little washer down in there too. So this piece, the best way I found to do is just stick that thing down in there. And if it doesn't fall in, then just take this, your drive gear here, and start moving. And kind of push down on it until it falls down in there. And then it'll go back and forth like that. Alright. So remember, we still got that little washer in there. Don't lose that. We'll just put that on there. Hopefully. If our fingers will work. There we go. We'll just take our bigger screwdriver. And tighten that down. And then just test it again. Make sure everything works. Kind of like so. And there you go. You got your worm gear back in. Let's put some more parts together here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our anti-reverse piece here. I think that's it. No, it's it re-engages your clutch after you push your button. So if you put it on wrong, like that, it's not going to work. So how this thing works is this right here goes in there, and then when you push your thumb button, this comes up right there and catches that right there, okay? So we gotta undo this now. Take that out and pull that back. So we're gonna lay that back in there like that. We're going to take this washer right here and lay it back on there. Now our gear here, our main pinion gear here, we're going to wipe this thing off real good. And we're going to take our paintbrush, dip a little bit of grease on it, and just come around with it. And we want to work that down into those gears. We're going to work that all the way around. And you don't have to pack it in there too tight. A little bit of this goes a long way. So there we go. We've got it all pretty well in there. You can put just a little bit on the back here for a little bit of lube with that drag washer. And so that's going to go on there like that. And we're just going to put all of our drag washers on now. And then this one, you just want to make sure these little teeth go into that groove there. And there we go. We're good to go there. And I guess we ought to put a little grease on these two. And it doesn't take a lot to get in there. There we go. We're all greased up now. Alright, next thing we got this little, the drive pinion gear here that turns your spool. We've already cleaned that up. I'm going to wipe on it a little bit more. Get all the grease, old grease off. Maybe take our pick here. Get some of that old grease out. Like so. And then we're going to take our little pinion gear here and our toothbrush and just kind of clean all the old grease out of it. And you can spend as long as you want on this. It doesn't, you know. And then we're going to take a little more of our real grease. We're just going to wrap that around. So we got plenty, well not plenty, that we're good to go there, because we don't want that running dry. This is what turns our spool. Alright. So remember, we got these little teeth in there. Those go down to your spool. So this is just going to lay in here like that. And then it's going to set in here, kind of like that. Now get that in there. And it's going to fit right down in there like that. And we're rocking and rolling, and we're moving on. We forgot to put the little guard here on the front, so we'll just go ahead and do that. So that just sets in there like that. And then a little screw goes in right there. Oops. Try that again. There it goes. Come on now. There we go. There's one side. Hold it there so all that doesn't fall off. Get the other side of here. Right there. There we go. That's all on there now. Put all that back down in there. We're good to go there. Let's see here. What's next? Let's put our little spring. Well, before we do that, let's put our spool in. So our spool is already greased up. So we're going to put that in there. And then we're going to take our side plate here, set it on like that right there. Now I do that because it seems like when that spool is in, everything just seems to line up a little bit better and things go back together. But you don't have to do that. You can wait till the end to do that if you want to. Alright, so now we got our little springs here. Remember, don't lose those things. Those go in right there. Kind of like that. And now we got our anti-reverse bushing. Put it on there. And I think we're ready to put this side plate on. So here we go. Let's put it on here. So if you got it all right, it should fit back together just like that. There we go. Now we're ready to put a couple of screws in. Just remember how you laid them out. Just screwdriver here. screw here. Hands are greasy. Got one more. Oop. Sticking to my hand. Go down in there. All right, we're getting close. Next thing to do, let's put this spool tension knob on here. And then we're ready to start putting our handle back on. We got this little drag washer here. It goes on. Now, you got two drag washers and they're cupped. So when you stack these things together, if they're stacked like that, they're wrong. You kind of want them two cups going into each other. Kind of like, I don't know if you can see it or not. You can see there, they are not going the same direction. Nope, that's wrong. Got them upside down. Dang it. Okay. There you go. See how those are kind of cut different? That right there, that gives you your drag pressure. So next thing is our drag clicker star here. And sometimes this little sucker here is a booger to get back on. There it is. We got our drag star. And sometimes you got to hold your line guide and your spool to get this thing to go on. Otherwise it'll just sit and spin on you. And you want to make sure you get it going on right. There it goes. You can see it's starting to move there, so just hold that. And you got that on. Got another little washer that goes on right here. And now we're ready to put our handle on. We put our nut on here. Use our little wrench. And you can see that you got your retainer thing here to put on. Make sure you kind of got that even with that. And then you're ready to try this thing out. Seems like it's working pretty well to me. But you want to test it a little bit there. And oh, we got one more screw here to go right there. We got that one to go in. Got that one. Now we got the nut retainer. Line that up and put that screw back in. All right, before we put this back on here, we forgot to do something. We'll take some of this Lube's speed brake. We're just going to put a little drop around the cylinder there. Just went around it. And then we'll take a Q-tip and just go around that and let that stuff clean it out and put it back together. Snap that on there, pull this little pin, snap it back, and give it another test. I think we're ready to go fishing. All we gotta do is put some line on it. If you haven't seen the video about putting line on your reel, go check that thing out. It'll be something, or it'll be linked down there in the description. Anyways, I'm Rodney with eFishin. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully the snow and stuff will melt and we can go fishing sometime. We're out.